idea as to what you'd better do than for us to tell you what to do. And so, of course, in the authority of the people down there, the president of the college and state and the high councilman and the bishops and all those, I guess, got together and they talked it over and they decided that the best thing to do was to get out of there, even though they had to sacrifice everything they had. And so, anyhow, we being the farthest colony down in Mexico and way back in the mountains, we were 2 days travel by horseback, even from Juarez. And when the people of Dublin and Juarez had decided to take their families out of there, why, they sent word up to us to tell us what they were doing. And by the time they got the word up to us in Chupa, they'd already got out of the colonies and were out across the line. And we were the farthest down there. So I remember that a man by the name of Harris, I remember, came into Chupi and broke the news to us that the people of the other colonies were leaving and they wanted to send word to us to tell us what they were doing. But it was up to us to decide whether we wanted to do the same thing or not. So I remember our bishop at that time was Tom Seeley, and one of his counselors, his first counselor was Dave Brown. And so they sent word in all over town to tell all the men of the priesthood to come up to the church, and they wanted to talk this thing over. Everybody could have a voice in it as to what we had better do with it. And so then after it's explained how the other colonies were all leaving and they decided that was the wisest thing to do, I remember the bishop said, now you men express yourselves and say what you think about it. Now we're way back here in the mountains and it might be that the revolutionists won't even come this way. We're way out of the way. There's no road that leads any place else. They just have to come right into us in order to find us, and they said it might be that they'll pass us by. So what do you men think? Well, some of them thought maybe that'd be the best thing, to just stay with it, take a chance on it. And then others expressed themselves and they said, I don't think we should take a chance of that kind because of our children, our wives and our children. Think of what might happen to them if a bunch of these revolutionists come in here. Here there's only just a small group of us men, and how could we defend our wives and our children? And so I think most of them said, I think we better do just like the rest of them have done. We better get out of here. And the only way we can get out of here is to get out on the train, get our families out there on the train. There was a train that went through this place called Chico that went down through Casas Grandes and on out to El Paso. And so we sent a man out there to see if the train was still running, and they said yes, the train was still running. There was one train a day that came through there. And so then we decided that we would leave, and we'd take our women and our children. But before, while we were still in this meeting, some of the men, or one of the men, I don't know who it was that mentioned this first, but he said, now here, Bishop, after we get our women and children out of here, what do you think about some of us men staying here and taking care of our property as long as we can? Because if we all go and leave it, well, anybody can come in here and just help themselves to anything we got. And some of us men could stay here and could kind of take care of things, and maybe they'd never come in on us. And if they did, we'd have a way of getting there and taking care of ourselves after our women and children are gone, and don't have to worry about them. So the bishop says, I think that's a good idea, and if some of you'd like to stay, well, I said, I'll stay with anybody that wants to stay. And then another fellow would say, well, I'll stay, and I'll stay. And the first thing you know, there was about 30 of us, nearly all young fellows, and we'll stay. And so it was decided then that all the older men that would be able to rough it like us younger fellows would, they'd better go out with the women and the children. And I remember that that Dave Brown's wife was pregnant at the time, and he said, well, I couldn't very well stay with you fellas because I've got to stay with my wife in the shape she's in, so I'll go along with the women and the children. And so then it was agreed that we go home, and in the morning, everybody come with his wagon and his team, and we'd go out there to the Chico station and try to get our families on the train. And we didn't know for sure whether we was going to be able to get them on there or not, but that was our only chance, because we couldn't take off any other way, because revolution parties were all over the country. They'd come into the towns that had been left by the others, and they knew if we ever started out with our wagons, why we would be held up and they'd be taken away from us. So to get out was the only chance, was on the railroad. Well, I remember when we got out there to Chico, and we had to get there early because the train, if I remember, came along about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So in order to make that 15 miles by team and wagon, we had to leave early in the morning. So early that morning, here we were, one team wagon behind the other, and it was understood that we couldn't take anything with us, only about 100 pounds to a family, and that meant just something to eat and get clothes. Leave everything else. So when we got out there to the station, why, we were ahead of the time for the train to come in, so then we were waiting, and in a little while here the train came in, and then it stopped. Went over there to see the conductor and about getting our people on, and he said, well, my goodness, he said, I don't think I could take any of you, because he says our cars are just loaded. They're standing up. Everybody's trying to get out of Mexico. And every place we've stopped along the road, he says, we've had a group of people there get on the train. And he says, they're just standing up. And he says, I don't think we could take a one of you. But it looked like a pretty serious proposition. And they would say, well, we've just got to get our families out of here. It's the only chance we got now. The only chance is on the train. Well, there had been an old passenger coach that had been there on a sidetrack, and I had seen it there, I know, for about a year, because I used to go out there quite often, and I worked there, too, at this end. And so somebody said, what about that passenger coach that's down there on the track? Well, he says, it's disabled. It hasn't been used for about a year. Well, what about looking it over and see if you couldn't hook it on and pull it along, because that would just about hold our group. So the conductor sent some men down there, his trainmen, to look it over, and they come back and said, yeah, I think we can grease it up and we can take it. And so they went down there and got that coach and put it onto the end of the train, and so it loaded our families on there, and they were just so thick in there they had to stand up. Well, then, so we had it understood. We knew that maybe this train would be stopped before it got out to El Paso, but we told our families, our wives, and the kids, now we'll stay right here in Chico until you get out to El Paso, and when you get out to El Paso, you wire back and say you crossed the line, and then we'll know that you're safe. And so we stayed right there at the station, and it was about midnight that night when we got a telegram from El Paso saying the train had passed into El Paso. Well, we were all relieved then, because we felt now they're really where they'll be safe anyhow. And so then we started back to Chupi then with our empty wagons. We went back to Chupi. Well, when we got back to Chupi, why, Bishop said, well, I think now what we ought to do is to organize ourselves in some kind of a military form so that we'll know who's in command. Well, somebody spoke up and said, Bishop, you're in command. You're in command. Well, he says, I want some help with this. And he says, I think we ought to have at least 2 other men. And he says, I think we ought to divide our party up and make 3 groups out of it, because we might be separated, and then we'd want to know who is command if we happen to be separated some way. So he says, I would say that we ask Hal Bader here to be one of the other captains, or whatever you want to call him. And he says, what about Jesperson there for the other? And so